In today's video, we're going to be doing house music drums from scratch. If you're a beginner or even intermediate music producer and you're struggling to get your drums sounding fat, crispy and grooving, this video is for you. Watch until the end and let's have a look at how I do my drums. Let's dive into Ableton. First of all, I just wanted to mention thank you for my first 100 subscribers. Means a lot, bruv. You know what I mean? Like doing it a week and a half and that, whatever. Massive, man. Thank you. So for that, I'm going to give away this template, which is basically empty, but you get a full arrangement laid out to you. So I'm going to link this template in the description for you. Sound. Right, we're going to hit right click, insert MIDI track. Also, quick tip straight off the back, if you want to press Command, Shift and T, that's a little shortcut for you to make a new MIDI track, right? Command F is going to take you to the Ableton browser. We're looking for a kick, right? Whoosh! We can spend all day cycling for a kick, but what I want to get you in the practice of, if we find a kick we like, you press right click and you favourite it. If we favourite it, it's going to go into our favourites clearly, and then you're going to save yourself time and a lot of stress looking for good samples. So for me, any of these I'll use every project. I've just got used to what works in my tracks. For this, we're going to double click. It's going to go into a simpler. Now we want to go over to creating our drums, right? So what I do want to do is start from the drop, because if we start from a drop, we eat the frog, and eat the frog is an old saying where essentially if you get the hardest thing out the way first, the rest is going to be easy. So if we get most of our drums down over the next 10-20 minutes, we're going to be laughing for copy and paste job, remove stuff, take stuff out, add a little bit of ear candy here and there. So we're going to go Command, Shift and M, and it's going to pop up with this MIDI region. So what a lot of people do is either use audio or do their MIDI clips like this. But what I want to get you in the practice of is making your MIDI shots really, really small. Wow, you're thinking the kick sounds bad, but basically if we have really short MIDI notes, we have full control over this release, so we can tailor the kick exactly how we want it for the track. I'm not going to do mix down as we go because that's a whole nother video, but for now I'm just going to keep it Ableton in-house unless there's any freebies I can show you. But we're going to add a drum bus, which is just going to beef the kick up a little bit, okay? Now, contradiction, I'm not going to do a full mix down, but I'm just going to pull the kick down a little bit just so we've got a little bit of room to work with, but I'll do a full mix down video at some point. So we've got the kick in here, right? We're going to duplicate it over 8 bars. At the end of the 4 bars, we're going to do a and lower the velocity of the ghost hit, which is just going to add some groove, right? Secondly, we're going to add a clap, Command, Shift and T. We'll go rename it clap. We're going to clap again. I'm going to access my favorites because I don't want to keep you all day picking samples out of packs and stuff. But anyway, double click, boom, it's in the simpler, right? So again, we just Command, Shift and what is it? M to create a MIDI track. We're going to again do short MIDI notes, so we've got full control over how much of a sample's coming through. So you can't really hear it right now, but as we bring this, sorry, let me just duplicate that. As we bring this release up, there, we've got it sitting perfectly with the kick, right? If we duplicate the clap and then we add a second one that's a little bit more lower, this one will do. Yeah, so just 2 different claps. It's going to give a nice little bit of low mids and the higher frequency claps in the spectrum. So now I'm going to add some perks. Little tip you can do with this: grab a perk loop, right? Any perk loop that doesn't have to fit with a track. So doesn't have to fit with a track, but we're going to try and find one that fairly does. This will do. We're going to put it in a simpler. It comes like this. obviously you're thinking, Raj, what we're going to do with this? But we're going to get Sting, which is a free Max for Live plugin. We're going to hit Slice on the MIDI track. I can't think today. We're going to hit Slice on the Simpler, and then what this is going to do is pull it down a bit in volume. It's going to create our own loop for us. You can pull the density down to make it less. That's fine. Obviously this is going to be the best drums I've ever made. I'm just giving you an idea of how I make my drums, okay? Now, what the thing is with Sting is you can't just hit record and it's going to come in. Well, with this Sting anyway, the newer one you can, but we need to create another MIDI track, so we're going to press Command Shift and T. It's going to make a MIDI track, and we're going to go where it says All Ins. We're going to go TPS Motion, which is just our Sting and the audio loop. We hit Arm on the MIDI, and we leave a little bit of headroom, and we just hit record and let it play. Now it's going to record. How's your day been? Let's just talk while it's recording. Let me know in the comments how your day's been. That'll do because it's just a loop. So we're going to duplicate that across. Command J. Hit Command A. There's a lot of commands, but once you know the shortcuts, you're flying, bro. And then with the velocity, we're just going to hit randomize, which is just going to basically randomize all the velocities within the MIDI clip. You can just do it as many times as you want. Now I could sit here and use a compressor to sidechain it, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get Kickstart, because I know most of you heads have got Kickstart. Oh my god, I did it on the wrong one. What am I doing? Just going to drag it up to there, delete this. So just to reiterate there, I've dragged it back onto the original track where we've got Sting, and then we're just going to turn Sting off, or you can delete it if you want to commit to having this MIDI pattern. And then again, I've just searched Kickstart, so we put Kickstart on there. Wabash. We're going to keep it at about 60% on the dry wet. Classic chain is always good. Hit the band, and what this is going to do is it's only going to sidechain anything below 700 Hertz, so the high stuff will still come through, and that's fine. Now, I know we said we weren't going to do mix down and stuff, but I'm just going to add a little phaser onto this to make it a bit minimal deep tech. So that phaser there, let me just turn the headphones up a little bit. Just that phaser there is just going to give it that baker touch. Anything minimal deep tech is basically tech house in 2025. Like, I'm sorry, but correct me if I'm wrong if you wanna discuss. But tech house just evolves as it goes, you know. And I'm sure Rossi said the same thing as well. But anyway, that's for Perk Loop there. All we've done, we haven't made this ourselves. We've just used Sting, which is a MIDI generator. I'll also link that in the description. So that's that. It's still a bit loud, so we'll just put it back. And then with the clap, I'm just going to do a little ghost clap. Let's look at some closed hats now. Yeah, we're going to go drum rack. Oh, sorry, it's over there. We're going to go drum rack in Ableton's Finder. It's going to pop up this. What the drum rack does, just to go wow, pull it back a little bit, because I went too fast then. ADHD on my mind. So we're going to go Command Shift and T again. It's going to create a MIDI track. We're going to go Command F, which is Command Find. It's going to take us to our Finder, and we go drum rack. What a drum rack is, guys and gals, drum rack is plenty of samplers in one instrument. So what we can do is we can get these closed hats. Say we go over to the Sidney Charles pack. I highly recommend the Sidney Charles pack, by the way, not the George Schmedals pack. That's a good one as well. I'll tell you what, we'll use the George Schmedals pack. This is a good one too. So we're just going to highlight, not think too much of it, highlight a few and drag them into the drum rack, and it's going to pull up with hits on loads of different, you know. loads of different simplers, and then we can generate a MIDI region with Command Shift, what is it? Command Shift M. And I like this one for the 16th hat, so we're going to hit the pencil and just pencil them in. Command D all the way across. Sound, that's sweet. Let's just work on this one for now. Slow your boots, bro. And we're going to find one to go on the 3. This will do for the 3. So this is going to be our closed hat, right? Now this is where I find people get lazy and they just bang it in. What we're going to do is we're going to get our pattern. Let me cut. Pull velocity down, because this is basically going to be like feeling. It's going to be like a feeling, like right in the background. Oh, a little clap as well. And then what's going to happen is we're going to remove the hats where there's other stuff playing, and it's just about not being a lazy guy and taking the time to do this, because what you don't want is loads and loads of hats overlapping with each other. And at this stage, if we hit over here these 3 lines, right, and then we hit IO, it's going to bring up the choke. What choke does is it only allows one hi-hat to play at the same time. Now you could say, why have you just deleted the ones that were in spots of the other ones? Because basically the choke will on the hi-hats will not know which ones to play. So the reason we've done that, if we just I can't be asked to look which ones they are, so I'm just going to go highlight all and put them on choke 1, because if we have these on choke 1, right, the ones that are long, so say for instance it's essentially what choke is doing, it's just making sure all the hi-hats have their own space in the mix. With this second part, we're just gonna mix it up a little bit, and it's just about experimenting. Like, obviously, yeah, it works well with the double kick as well, to be fair, because once we start adding loops and adding more, we'll get a nice groove going here. I'm going to pull the velocity down. No, not that one. Pull the velocity down on this one because it's just a bit aggressive at the minute. Actually, it was okay. Right, sweet. So we're going to look at adding some swing. Let me just unhighlight that. We're going to start looking at adding some swing to these hi-hats. So let's solo the hi-hats, because if we start to add swing to one thing at a time, it's going to get all messy. So let's listen to, if we make sure the global amount, I left this at 0 because some people's Ableton's at 0. To have the swing work, it needs to be at 100% or however much you want to add to it. So taste, you can have like 70, or I just keep it at 100. And a swing I like to use. Oh! So without the swing, it's very straight, right? Mate, I was about to say a swear word then, but... So again, we just go over to here and we're going to add the 16th. With what we got here. Is that on the... Yeah, so we can also add the swing to this. Oh yeah, baby. Okay, right. So that's grooving, it's swinging, it's fat. At this stage, before we start, because I might as well add some loops because it's not a very long video, so we can build it a little bit more, you know what I mean? So with this now, what we're looking at is we want to add some snares, right? So let's create another MIDI. If you're watching carefully, tell me the shortcut to do this, add a MIDI track, is on your keyboard. I'll give you a clue. Command, Shift, and what? Wabash! Right, yeah, so snare. I'm just going to pick some favourites I've got. I'm going to go into my favourites again because that's quite cool. I'm going to use a drum rack again for this to keep the project nice, neat and tidy. I'm going to copy it there, paste it. So we've got our drum rack, empty drum rack. I just cut the video while I deleted the hi-hats. Going to drag this snare in, and then we're going to find kind of like, this is quite nice. So again, we're just going to highlight, Command, Shift and M, right? So I like offbeat high snares. You can add one to the clap. You can add one to the clap as much as you like to give the clap a little bit more groove. But for me, I like my snares like so. And changing the velocity too. You can either do it down here or you can hover over it and press Command and drag. Command is the answer to all your troubles on a Mac keyboard. So that could go there. And then we don't want this one to be as present, so we just do a little bit of variation. That's quite cool. It's kind of like a bit garagey and a little bit like shungy. Right, so I feel like now would be a good time. Sorry, I'm shaking the camera, bruv. I'm grooving. So let me have a sip of my tea because it's getting cold. So now would be a good time to get an open hi-hat in there. Just for reference, for when you're using in your own projects, look at like adding like stuff like this, like as audio, pulling it right down so it's only background, and going to beats, mess with the transients over here. So just to reiterate, I was on complex. If you're on beats, you go transients, pull the, I mean that kind of spoils it, but it's just to give you an idea when you start adding drum grooves in. And if something's out of swing like this clearly is, like really messy, you can try, it don't always work, you can press Command U and then add your groove. Now it works. See what I mean? So just to reiterate there, how to add swing properly to loops. If we press Command A, once it's on beats, by the way, Command U, it's going to quantize it. And just to reiterate even more, I've pulled the transients in. So if the transients were like here, it wouldn't sound as crispy if the transients were like mess with the transients and tame the transients a little bit. So now we've got this loop in, I feel like it's a good time to add our open hat, and then we can always add as we go if needed. So now we're going to look at getting our open hi-hat in. This is quite nice, this is quite garagey. So Command Shift and T, and we're gonna double click again, get it in. Command Shift and M. And if you are using this, if you are trying to do this sort of garagey, speed garage stuff or whatever, a good little plugin you can use on your hi-hats is Redux and bit crush it to 12 bits. Because if we use this Redux and we bit crush it to 12 bits and pull the rate down, you can't hear much of a difference to an untrained ear, but the more you change the rate, it emulates like an old drum machine, like the MC909 or the TR909 or whatever, you know what I mean? But yeah. So what I do at this stage, right, when I've got a nice drum group together, I would keep my kick separate for the low end group. So I'd have like my kick and my bass in a low end, and I'd group the drums. Rename off. So once I've got my drums like this, I'll highlight them all and press Command G, which will pop them into a group, and now we can start processing them. Just a little tip, what we can do in terms of starting to make them sound a little bit nicer. Over in our return channel over here, which are the two little channels you've got at the bottom, if we've got a reverb here, I am going to use a third-party plugin here because this is totally worth the money. I'm just going to get Valhalla Vintage Verb and go into the presets, rooms, tiled room, which is going to give us a nice drum reverb. So now we've got the reverb on the return channel, which is essentially like sending it to a bus. And what we can start doing is we can solo these. We can start sending to A, which is our A return, which has got the Valhalla reverb on. We can start sending the signal, sending each signal of each drum track to this reverb, right? Hear how a nice space is starting to come. Now this is if we unsolo the drum groups, this is what you're hearing here. Now what I like to do with this is oh my god. Now what I like to do with this is get a glue compressor, put it next to the reverb on the return, and start to pull this threshold back and side chain it to your ghost kick. Now so here now we've got the dry signal, which is our drums, and we've got the wet signal on the reverb on the return channel, and together you've got a really nice that's essentially how I would start my drums, how I would start to build a track. I'd get my drum groove down first and start cooking. Listen guys, I hope you found that useful. That was just an insight how to I build my drums with MIDI. I know it wasn't the most cleanest and like easy to follow video. I'm new to YouTube and long form content, so I hope you learned some stuff, even if it's just for shortcuts. Thank you for all the support, and thank you for my first 100 subscribers. And honestly, any comments, any shares, and subscribe for more.